So there you go. Obviously, Vinny Desharnais recalled by the Edmonton Oilers in time for today's game against the Philadelphia Flyers. But friends, it's been a much bigger day in Edmonton Oilers land than just a simple call-up of a 6'7" defenseman from our farm team after a whirlwind past week for Vinny Desharnais and Dylan Holloway. Friends, this is Dolynny TV. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning into this video from. Hey, good tomorrow, right? That's something we've kind of made a joke of here on the channel as of late to our friends overseas in New Zealand and that area. Anyway, friends, as we get set for this one, right, the Oilers, we had that massive update the other day on Karlsson and Patrick Kane. There's even more news today to get to, so I promise we'll get there in a matter of moments. But before we do, a little bit scrambled up, a little bit eager maybe is what you could call me today to discuss all the happenings. If you're new to the channel, I'd love to have you aboard for more Edmonton Oilers discussion. Right now, we've got about 10,775 of us crazy Oilers fans gathered here on Dolynny TV. I'd love to have you join up and obviously make that even larger community so as we have even more discussion here on the channel. Anyway, with that said, we're done. Stop wasting time. Let's get to it. The Oilers call up Vinny Desharnais today. That was the breaking news story here on Dolynny TV yesterday morning. It took a little longer than I anticipated, but as Jason Greger mentioned on Twitter today, it all happened to the exact timeline I told you it would yesterday, other than the official announcement coming just after breakfast time this morning. So, that's Vinny Desharnais, who will likely suit up for the Oilers tonight. I haven't heard official lineup notes, so don't get too uppity at me there. The big news, though, today is that, again, it looks like the Erik Karlsson trade is hung up for now. Patrick Kane's entertainment level of a trade to Edmonton seems to still be high, right? That's nothing new out of what I told you yesterday or the day before when we discussed the Karlsson and Kane updates. But what we do have today is a lot of pushing from the insiders across the NHL that the Oilers are indeed looking to make a splash, make a blockbuster move at the NHL trade deadline. Or before. Obviously, you know how these things happen. Tarasenko, Ryan O'Reilly, they happen before the deadline, but you get kind of the principle of what we're going for. So that's where we're looking. Obviously, number one to Erik Karlsson, and I'm going to get this going because I've got a whole bunch of screenshots saved to me here on the phone, is it just looks like the Oilers for now are out on Erik Karlsson. This is a big development here, friends. This is the first time in the past 2-3 weeks since the Oilers re-engaged on this Erik Karlsson discussion that I have seen, and this according to David Pagnotta, that the Oilers may actually be out officially on Erik Karlsson for now. And this is obviously too, right? And we'll come in and talk about this. It's more or less San Jose is only willing to really eat $2 to $3 million of salary, and it is believed that Ken Holland is asking for up to $5 million to be retained. I know that's a number we've talked about here on Dolynny TV prior, where I said, you know what, you get San Jose down to about 7.5 left on Karlsson's contract. When you take it, you third party it, and you get down to that $6.5, $6.25 million range. And yes, you probably have yourself a big time deal, a blockbuster at the deadline. But it appears that it is an ask from Ken Holland for San Jose to eat upwards of $5 million. And whether it be a negotiating tactic or what here, that remains to be seen. But that appears to be putting the Oilers on the brink of being unable to acquire Erik Karlsson at this NHL trade deadline. So that again, and that is also in Chris Johnston's report on Karlsson today as well, just basically mentioning that San Jose retaining anything less than 20 to 40% is going to be a non-starter in absolutely any talk. And that's where we kind of find ourselves today, is it's just the Oilers have scouts everywhere, so does every other team. So that's really something that, yeah, make mention of it. I think the one I have here in my saved reel, going back and forth with my insiders that I have, is the Oilers have for a third game in a row a scout at the New Jersey Devils game, so that's something to keep note of there. But there really is nothing else. Maybe to make mention that Vinny Desharnais was dealing with strep throat there for a little bit. And other than that, it's one of those things now for the Patrick Kane rumors, I guess, is what we move on to, because for the time being, the Oilers are out on Erik Karlsson, still looking to make a blockbuster. So hence we head to Patrick Kane, who makes a lot of sense here as well to play in the top six. You think about the Oilers' right wing situation, which I think is where Patrick Kane's played a lot of his career so far, even though I think he's a lefty shot. As you look, the Oilers have Zach Hyman, Kailer Yamamoto, Jesse Puljujarvi, and Derek Ryan. You tell me that you would not love to have Patrick Kane take up that second top six role instead of a guy like Puljujarvi or Yamamoto. I'm sorry, based on every single comment I get here on Dolynny TV, I guarantee you that everybody who watches this channel would love to have Patrick Kane in the top six for the Oilers if at somehow possible it is feasible for the Oilers to make happen. And that is again to this blockbuster thing. Obviously, I think there's a lot of chatter today that Patrick Kane has a lot of motivation to come to the Oilers, right? The Leafs have passed on him for the time being, and it's now really down to the two big horses in the Pacific Division, whether it be the Vegas Golden Knights or Edmonton Oilers, and it just depends on who Patrick Kane feels is his better chance to win yet another Stanley Cup with this spring. But it's one of those things. The Oilers looking to gun up and load up. I think they'd be willing to do the deal a little bit more than Vegas would. I think Vegas, to some extent, their cupboards are quite bare at this point. From everything I understand of the situation there, I guess we could go do a deep dive. But I'm going to feel pretty secure that I don't think Vegas really has as much of a stocked cupboard as the Oilers necessarily do right now, and it would be probably one of those best things. Yeah, sure, they got Mark Stone on LTIR and they've got the cap space to weaponize, but for us, I think we've got enough guys in the minors and obviously in the prospect pool that we could probably entice Chicago a little bit more than Vegas. That's just my personal opinion, but maybe not backed up by facts right there, but it's nonetheless. And that is too, you get back to this big point here for the Oilers, where yes, you have the ability to go big game hunting because we've got our first round picks. We've got everything intact that a buyer at the NHL trade deadline could possibly need to buy at the NHL trade deadline, if that makes sense. You look at the Oilers, other than cap space, obviously, but don't mind me. That's just a whole nother situation. But you look at it right now for the Edmonton Oilers, yes, we got $562,000 in cap space. Vinny Desharnais, Devon Shore up on emergency loans as of current. But you look for things in terms of the picks available to us. We've got our first, second, and third this year, first and second next year, and a first and a third the year after in 2025. All the depth picks are pretty much there, other than a fourth and a seventh out of the 12 picks available in the late rounds in the next few years. Pick traded away in 2022. Pick traded away July 7th, 2022. Who did we pick that? Who did we trade that second rounder to? That was the Zach Kassian trade in 2025. So it cost us 2024 third round pick and a 2025 second round pick for them to pick up, obviously, Zach Kassian and Maverick Lemieux. So that's where we sit, friends. It's just kind of another day where things develop here. Sucks to hear, obviously, that we might potentially be out on Erik Karlsson. I think you might have heard me pitch several times over the past week where I really strongly do believe Erik Karlsson could solve every issue the Oilers have, because obviously if Nurse is the worst defenseman in the NHL and he's our best defenseman, by far that would mean Erik Karlsson is a stud coming into this Oilers blue line, and it would be a massive upgrade for us both offensively and defensively. And secondary to that, a guy like Patrick Kane, the offensive depth he would add, even if he is a little injury prone, I don't think he's going to be injured like Mike Green, where he just disappears into the ether as soon as he gets injured in an Oilers uniform. So there could be something more substantial for the Oilers out of that trade as well, out of a pure rental in Patrick Kane. Friends, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for entertaining things today. Obviously, we didn't really talk too much about third-party trades, but again, that one, when we actually get a concrete, fleshed-out idea of how one of either Karlsson, Kane, or somebody else is going to come to fruition, that's where we will start talking. There was talk today that San Jose would require maybe a guy like Vancouver to come in here and get into the situation and retain some salary for a first round pick or a fourth round pick or whatever the draft pick might end up having to be to retain salary. Obviously, that's kind of where the Oilers have to figure it out, is whether they can find a cap dump team or find a draft pick salary retention situation like Toronto did with Minnesota. Who knows? But again, that's all just so up in the air that I don't think we need to discuss it much more than I've already wasted another minute on it. So guys, enjoy your evening. I know the Oilers are playing at 7 o'clock tonight. I've got prior commitments, but we'll chat here hopefully later on tonight before the Oilers game's wrapped up, and I'll get to you. But I am up on out of here.